Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for the final Have Your Say of the season.
Don't worry, it's almost over.
And this is for All Stars 11 episode 12, which is the finale. So today we're going to be recapping the final episode, including revealing who the winner of the season is, going through the results of the Have Your Say poll where you at home voted on if you agreed with the outcome of the episode. And we're going to be talking about some drama unrelated to this season to do with Mistress Isabelle Brooks speaking out against Sasha Colby and their feud, including some allegations of things that Sasha did. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. And before we start quickly, you might be wondering, what is this beautiful garment that I have stretched across my very ample bosom? Well, this is my t-shirt, my Gossip Secrets and Drama t-shirt. We know those are 3 words associated with me. I mean, there are other words associated with me, such as, puss, all of the above, but these are the words that most people would associate with me, I think.
Girl, please. No.
But if you would like your own t-shirt as well as a mug, I do have a mug. Oh, there it is, a mug. Not this mug, this mug. Then you can also get those in my merch store on my channel. They should also be underneath this video, like pictures of them, I think. So check those out. But yeah, you can get your own Gossip Secrets and Drama t-shirt, mugs, everything else. Okay, so let's start by recapping the episode. So because it's the final episode, the queens come back in and they look at the receipts for the Rater Queen last week. There's a little bit of drama with some people disagreeing with what they said. Then the next day, which was quite interesting, when they come back in, they have the pink furry box and the queens had to submit questions to ask to the group. And I love that they were like throwing in some shady questions, like Jasmine's question of like, who do you think is the least deserving? And like, that is funny. I'm sorry, but that's funny. But also, we all know I'm messy. So I quite enjoyed the fact that they were clearly trying to start some stuff with the queens, but also especially I think they were trying to start stuff between Silky and Akira, because obviously we know they have a beef and they've spoken about it. But what I thought was funny is just that Akira is somewhat kind of gone for it, but Silky is just completely not given the producers what they wanted, because clearly they wanted a fight and they just haven't had it almost the entire season. If you do want to know about the Silky Akira feud, I have done multiple videos about it now, so I'll link to those in the description because there have been a lot of developments since the season started. So let's get into the actual heart of the episode, which is that they're going to do a lip sync off of the final queens, and then the final 2 will lip sync obviously for the crown. I would just like to start out by saying I personally am not a fan of this format. I don't mind there being a lip sync Lollapalooza or whatever. I just think when it's the final episode, it's kind of dumb, because does it mean that the queen that's the best lip syncer is going to win, even if they didn't deserve the win from the entire performance over all the episodes? It just seems a bit silly to me. It's kind of like, well, what's the point of doing all the episodes if it all comes down to a lip sync anyway? And it doesn't, because we know it's rigged. So it's just a bit weird to me. Also, I know all of you are going to be like, Matt's a hater, he hates everything. True. But I also think that it's just a bit anticlimactic, this lip sync. I feel like this lip sync Lollapalooza is just not a great format for the finale. I wish they would just do a performance and then do a final runway, because at least it would have a bit more pageantry to it. Whereas this is just like, when they do a lip sync off, it's just the queens have to lip sync in relatively like basic sparkly outfits because they need to move in it, and then they get crowned at the end, and it kind of just feels like a regular episode, not a finale episode. Anyway, I will now get off my soapbox, but I just wanted to let that out before I explode, and I do like a good explosion.
Because you're a slut.
Okay, so we find out the format is there's essentially 5 lip syncs. Each queen goes up against another queen, and obviously one queen gets knocked out each round until they then have the final 2, and then the winner wins. But we find out, and I think they have done this before, that 2 queens get to essentially skip the first round and go straight to the second round. And in this instance, it's Crystal Method and Jasmine Kennedy. I feel like we could all kind of see that coming because Crystal's the front runner. I feel like that was sort of a bit rigged that they went through, because it means that essentially Crystal didn't have to do at least one lip sync where she potentially could get knocked out. Anyway, but that I did have a little bit of an eye roll at that, so do with that what you will. But the way that the rest of the lip syncs are chosen is they have like the ball in the hopper thing, and Evan Mulrooney, who's the actor comedian who was in last week's episode, he's like the pit crew member, which I don't think any of us are complaining about.
Because you're a...
When the queen's ball gets, because he puts his hand on the queen's ball, that queen then gets to choose their opponent, and the opponent gets to choose the song. And this is kind of a standard format. Oh, and this lip sync off is a bit different because all the songs are disco themed. Okay, so let's go through the first lip sync, which was between Silky Nutmeg Ganache and Dawn, and it was Star Love by Cheryl Line. I thought this was a fine lip sync. I will say I've seen quite a few people making jokes about how the reveals are not great anymore on Drag Race because a lot of them just come on with a big coat and then take off the coat, and it's like that's not really a reveal. Anyway, but I think Silky did win this one in my personal opinion. Dawn, obviously, she kind of knows she's not the best lip syncer. She did do a decent job, but I do think Silky was just capturing the vibe a bit more. They definitely showed her more in the edit as well, and she's got that kind of funny attitude, that kind of ginger mingeness to her where she kind of makes funny faces, and Ru loves that. So I do think that Silky won this one. And we find out that Silky does win and then continues to the next round, whereas Dawn then gets eliminated. And in the Have Your Say poll, 69.6% of you voted for Silky, so the majority, and then 30.4% for Dawn. Okay, so the next lip sync is Joey J versus Akira C. Davenport, and they lip sync to the song The Boss by Diana Roos. I thought this was a much better lip sync overall in terms of it being a balanced lip sync. I think they both actually did do a pretty good job. I really enjoyed Joey's sort of under outfit. Again, the reveal was basically just had a big coat on, takes off the big coat anyway. But I liked the outfit. It's very much giving disco. It looks like something that RuPaul would wear if she was doing disco, which kind of helped sell the whole thing. Although Akira is a great lip syncer and I did like what she did, I do think not only did the camera go to Joey, because I think she is a fan favorite and people really like her, but also she was just, I think, doing more interesting stuff and really kind of switching up. And we haven't seen her lip sync really, so I think it was more of a gag to actually see her do it and people were focused more on her. But I do think Joey won this one. But we find out that Joey does in fact win and goes through to the next round, which means that Akira is unfortunately eliminated. In the Have Your Say poll, this was a way more of a landslide. 81.1% said Joey J won and 18.2% for Akira. Okay, so moving on to the penultimate round. I mean, there's only 3, but this is the penultimate. And this is obviously round 2, so it's the winners of both of the first round and then the 2 that just like skipped through. And we find out the first lip sync is Joey versus Silky to the song The Main Event / Fight by Barbara Streisand. I will give props to Silky. At least this one was a bit more of an interesting reveal, and I liked the fact that she at least had planned out doing the different reveals in the different, like, she didn't just take off the coat this time. This time something else came off, so it was more unexpected. I do think that Joey, although she was repeating maybe some of her moves from the first round, I do think that she captured the vibe more, and I was definitely looking at her more than Silky, so I did think that Joey won. And we find out that Joey does indeed win, so she's through to the final round, and unfortunately Silky is eliminated. In the Have Your Say poll, this was the most by far landslide. Like, I couldn't believe how much of a landslide this was. 95.8% said Joey J, and then only 4.2% said Silky. So poor Silky, but I do think in this one, I think she was focusing too much on the reveal and maybe not enough on the lip sync, so I can see why she didn't win. So then the final lip sync for this particular round is the 2 queens that got to skip, which is Crystal Method and Jasmine Kennedy, and they lip sync to the song Knock on Wood by Am I Stewart. I loved that this was like the tinsel divas, because they both looked a bit like Christmas ornaments that came to life, like shaking it and all that kind of stuff. Now, we all know, personally, we've said this before, but I do think it was kind of rigged for Crystal to go through. I also wonder whether they did disco deliberately for Crystal, but would they have thought that far ahead? Because I think the thing is, if this had been like a kind of boom ka type number, I definitely think Jasmine would have won, but the fact that disco, you can kind of do whatever you want with it, and it's definitely, you can lean more into the humor and kooky side, which is what Crystal did. I do think Crystal won, but only just, I would say. If it had been any other genre of music, or if it had been like more of an upbeat song, I do think Jasmine won, but I will say I do think Crystal did win this one just about. And we find out that Crystal does indeed win, so she's through to the final lip sync, and unfortunately Jasmine is eliminated. In the Have Your Say poll, this was quite split, which I think does align with me as well, because this was probably one of the ones where I was the most kind of, it could go either way. Crystal Method did come out on top just about with 56.5%, which is not that much more than half. And then Jasmine got 43.5%. So yeah, this one to me, I feel like it could have gone either way, but I think we could all see the writing on the wall, and it was not saying Jasmine. Okay, so the final lip sync, and this is like the lip sync for the crown, which is between obviously the queens who've won all of their respective rounds, which is Crystal Method versus Joey J. And they lip synced the song MacArthur Park single version by Duna Suma. I do like that they got to change between this one because at least it wasn't like the same outfit reveal. It was just a different outfit reveal of got a coat on, now I don't have the coat on. But I do actually quite like both of their outfits. Crystal's was obviously more like kooky, funny, the fire and everything, whereas Joey was obviously more sparkly again. It's kind of similar to her first one, but just a more like sparkly gay, obviously, version.
Hi, gay.
In this particular one, I will say I think Joey did win the lip sync. When I was watching, I was like, I think Joey won this. But ultimately, do I think Joey was going to win the lip sync and therefore win the season? No. So I kind of saw what was going to happen, but technically, just from a lip sync point of view, not necessarily who I think deserves the win. I think that in this lip sync, Joey did win. And it looks like you did agree with me because as we've established over many of these videos, I'm always right.
Said no one.
But Joey J, by a landslide, did win. 73.1% said you thought Joey won, which is almost 3/4, and then only 26.9% for Crystal. So that is very interesting, but I feel like a lot of people felt the same way. But we find out that Crystal wins the lip sync, I guess, but it means that overall the winner of the season is Crystal Method. So congratulations to Crystal Method, our newly crowned queen of All Stars 11. Now, I did ask in the Have Your Say poll, were you surprised by the winner of the season? Shockingly, 97.2% said no. To be honest, I thought it would be 100% genuinely, but 2.8% of you said yes, you were shocked. I would honestly like to know what you were watching, because clearly it was different to what the rest of us were watching, but you do you, Diva. And a slightly shady question, because we all know I'm a shady ass bitch. I asked, do you think the winner was rigged or did she deserve it anyway? Or in other words, Crystal. And it was quite split actually. So it was rigged, got 52.3%, and then 47.7% thought she deserved it. Now we're going to get into this in a minute, but I do think there's quite an interesting distinction between it's rigged and she deserved it, which again, I'll talk about in a minute, but I really wanted to see what the results were. So it was quite interesting. This was pretty split, almost 50-50. And then the penultimate question in the Have Your Say poll was, who did you want to win the season? Now, for the past few weeks, Joey J came out on top, and this was no exception. 62.2% of you said Joey J. I do wonder if that's because she's had more of like an underdog storyline. If she had actually won, I do wonder whether people would have got mad because they thought Crystal actually did better overall in the season. Dunno. But Crystal Method only got, I say only, but 19.2% is nowhere near 62.2. Again, you don't have to ask Katia and her math skills to know that one.
I didn't go to school for math.
And then all the others were basically nothing, but third place was Dawn with 8.5. So by a landslide, it sounds like you wanted Joey to win, but I think we all knew that Crystal would win. And I'm going to hand over to my co-host for the final question. Hello everyone, it is I, the legend herself, Dr. Claudia Poussey. Because this last question is quite a lot of data, as we would say, a lot of information, Matt asked me to come and talk about it because, as we know, I am a professor. So for the question 9, it asked, rank the season overall in terms of how much you enjoyed the season. 1 equals the least and 5 equals the most. A bit like when you leave a review on the Google or the Amazon. So overall, the average rating of the season is 3.48. So let's almost say 3.5 stars. And if we look at the distribution of the points, we have the most votes, 47.8% of the votes were for 4-star. Then it was 38% for the 3-star. And then after that, it was quite split, but 2-star actually came out in third place with 6.4%. Then it was 5-star with 5.7%. And then 1-star only got 2.2%. And having watched the entire season, I would agree it was okay, but maybe not the best. I would have given it also around the 3.5, maybe 4 stars. I think 3 or 2 is way too harsh, but 5 is way too generous. But I must now go because I am receiving the Pulitzer Prize for Literature for my memoir, Claudia Poussey, 9 Lives, No Regrets. So I will now hand you back to the incapable hands of Matt. Okay, so now that's over, let's go through the comments for this week. There are a lot of comments, so I'm going to try and get through them as quickly as possible. By the way, if you would like to get your comment featured as a priority, you can join either my Patreon or my YouTube membership. You get early access to my videos, priority with lots of different stuff, exclusive content that doesn't get posted anywhere else. And if you want to know more about that, check out either the link in the description for the Patreon, or you can click the join button under any of my videos to join the YouTube membership. We'll start with my Patreon comments, and I've kind of grouped these into flares, if you like, as in like topics. I think they call it a flare, like what's the flare of your comment? Because I'm down with the kids and that's what the kids say.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
But the first flare of these comments is it like being rigged for Crystal and sort of unfair to Crystal. So my Patreon Patty said, congratulations to Crystal Method. Whether people are annoyed or not, she deserved it. I was rooting for her from the start. It's a shame what production did. She would have won anyway. This was a very common theme. My Patreon Nikki said, it's really unfortunate that production keeps undermining wins of amazing queens. For example, Crystal getting pushed after the merge and thus making the finale. My Patreon Lady Nidaria was like, ugh, I'm so upset. I think Crystal is such a talented queen, but all of that felt so forced. And my Patreon Sue said, the last lip sync was a total giveaway as to who was winning. Camera showed Crystal Method way more than Joey J. I was very unhappy about that. At least show both queens equally and not favor one as you planned the winner. I really think that Joey J got the poo-poo of the stick during the season. And I will agree, this was a massive topic about, you know, Crystal, did she deserve to win or was she pushed? In my opinion, I think Crystal did deserve the win. She did amazing throughout the season. But I do think that production made it so obvious that people are then going to not like or not agree with Crystal winning, which is a shame because she didn't need it to be rigged. I think she would have won regardless. So I do wonder why production do that, because I feel like they're sort of shooting themselves in the foot. I will also just say, though, in defense of production, it is very difficult because there's always going to be people that disagree. If Crystal wins, they'll say it's rigged. If Joey had won, they would have said that she didn't deserve it or whatever because she didn't have any wins. So I do feel bad for production in a way because I feel like it's a catch-22 situation. But at the same time, I do also think that they need to maybe just stop rigging it as much. You can kind of poke for drama. I think that's fine to kind of massage things to get some drama going. But I don't think that the pushing and the rigging is necessary because unfortunately it undermines the queen who does win, who probably deserved it anyway. And then my next batch of comments is more about like bad editing, I guess would be the flair. So my Patreon Deb said, Joey J has been able to showcase her considerable talent, make it to top 2 and get the fan base to support her as the robbed queen, which is a very like big thing. We'll talk about that in a minute. Losing really is the new winning in Drag Race. It feels like being the runner-up is better than being the winner. I think because the winner gets so much pile on from people saying it's like rigged for them or whatever. My Patreon Hillary made a comment that I also agree with, and I mentioned this earlier. The finales have also been a letdown for me, at least since they moved the reunion shows before the finale. The season builds up to the crescendo of the finale, and then there's no gentle exit. It's just bye girl and on to the next season. And finally, my Patreon Max said, while I kind of love having constant Drag Race content, so do I, the fact that there's so much now is making wins feel a bit meh. Again, this is a very big topic about is there too much Drag Race? I think you can argue it either way because maybe there is a lot that it doesn't feel as special as it used to, but then now I do feel like also we shouldn't complain about there being queer representation on TV because, like, you know, several decades ago, way before I was born, because I'm only 17.
Sure, Jan.
There was hardly any queer representation on TV, and now we're getting it in the mainstream. So I do feel like complaining about it is not the best way of going about it. But I do wonder whether they need to slow down the pace at least somewhat, because, or at least make them feel special in some way. Because at the moment, it does feel very much like get one done, get them done, out the way, move on to the next. And it's kind of like there's no breathing room. And then moving on to the comments from the Have Your Say poll, someone commented saying, I fear the reason RuPaul chose 2 queens to advance to the next round was because she knew low-key that Crystal might lose that round. And then Crystal did deserve her wins, but didn't have to be that way, which is kind of what I said earlier. This whole Crystal thing was basically most of the comments. But another comment on the same ilk as that was, Crystal could have got the win on her own, but production made it so blatantly obvious. I feel like Drag Race has lost its heart and it hasn't felt the same since season 8. And then the other batch of comments was more about Joey J, saying, Joey won in her own way. Mama Ru enjoyed the first openly gay contestant and they won the fandom. Pleased that Crystal won, but they didn't need to push her as much. And then there were also just lots of comments saying Joey J is the clear winner of the season. I agree in a way. I do feel bad for Crystal. I think she's now gonna, a bit like Ginger Minj. I think she's a more popular winner than Ginger Minj because this was her first time coming back for All Stars, whereas for Ginger it was like her millionth time coming back. And I do think people really felt like Crystal deserved the win. But with Joey, I think she kind of got the better end of the stick, like we said, because I think it's better to be the robbed queen than to be the rigged queen. So I do think that losing is the new winning, which is why I'm such a loser. But let me know what you think in the comments. Does the fact that production rigged it make you actually think that Crystal didn't deserve it? Or can you separate the two in your mind and say, yes, it was rigged, but Crystal still deserved it, so I'm still going to hold Crystal in the higher regard along with all of the other winners of the show. I'd also like to say thank you so much for all of your amazing, amazing comments throughout the season in the Have Your Say poll. Honestly, it's such a treat reading these things. I love seeing that you love these Have Your Say polls and like my silliness, my craziness, my ridiculousness. It does take me a long time to edit these videos despite what it might look like. So it really does make all of the late nights, the early mornings and all of that kind of stuff worth it to see that you actually enjoy it. So thank you so, so much for the views, the comments and everything. And finally, we're going to move on to some recent drama to do with Mistress Isabelle Brooks and Sasha Colby. And Mistress has alleged that Sasha has stopped Mistress from getting bookings. So season 15 contestant Mistress Isabelle Brooks recently posted a video on her YouTube channel called Coming Clean, Addressing My Beefs, Ozempic allegations and more, where she answered questions that fans had been sending in, and I'll link to the full video on her channel in the description. And one of the most asked questions was about Mistress and her season 15 co-star Sasha Colby because of their feud. I'm just going to quickly explain the background of their feud because it is relevant to what Mistress said. So Mistress and Sasha both competed on season 15 back in 2023, as we know, and they both made it to the top 4, but Sasha won the season. Then in 2024, Mistress was on All Stars 10, along with Sasha's drag daughter, Kerri Colby. On All Stars 10, there was of course the tournament bracket format, where the queens had to give out MVQ points to each other. As I'm sure you remember, in one of the episodes, Mistress tricked Kerri and Nicole into giving their points to Mistress and Jorgeous in exchange for them returning the favour, but instead, Mistress and Jorgeous then gave their points to each other, which meant that Kerri and Nicole did not get a point. Then, in the final episode of the bracket, Nicole and Tina strategized to give their points to Kerri, specifically to try and stop Mistress from going forward. But when they actually gave their points out on stage, Nicole and Tina gave their points to Kerri, but Kerri then gave her point to Tina, despite reportedly having told Mistress that she was going to give it to her. Mistress then gave her point to Lydia instead of Kerri, and she called Kerri a, quote, fake B-word. And the result of all of this was that Kerri missed out on going through to the next round, although she was later announced as being the wild card. Then, in June 2025, after the episodes aired, Kerri did an interview with Entertainment Weekly, and she revealed that Sasha actually blocked Mistress on social media over what happened. And we also found out that Sasha kicked Mistress out of the season 15 group chat. This was on the back of a tweet that Willem had done, where Willem responded to Mistress and asked a question saying why she got kicked out of the season 15 group chat. In the interview, Kerri said that when she told Sasha what happened on the set of All Stars 10, Sasha, quote, let me have it. Mistress then responded to this situation publicly in her own interview, where she said, quote, when this happened, Kerri went home and told Sasha a bunch of lies, and Sasha got upset with me. There is nothing to be addressed, which is why I never spoke on it. This happened over a year ago, it's just new to y'all. But Mistress then added that, quote, nothing but love from my end for all the Colbys, and nothing but respect for Sasha. I hope one day we can be on better terms, but I will always respect a B-word who rides for those they love. Kerri and Mistress then seemingly made up later. They said they didn't talk for a while, but they had a long conversation at Mickey's in West Hollywood and sorted it out, and they even filmed a video together afterwards on Mistress's YouTube channel. And I have talked more about this feud in a previous video, so I'll link to that in the description. But although Mistress and Kerri had seemingly made up, Mistress and Sasha had not. Since then, there has been a lot of speculation as to whether the two of them are now on speaking terms or not, and Sasha has been asked about her relationship with Mistress in several interviews. The first one was on the Kelly Mantle show, where Kelly asked Sasha what she thought of Mistress, and Sasha just said, pass.
Mistress, Isabelle.
Pass.
Brooks. Why do you pass? And there you go.
Then, a while later, Sasha was on the pit stop with Bianca Del Rio, and Bianca asked her a similar question about Mistress because of all the speculation, and Sasha again just said, pass.
Okay, Sasha, before we get into All Stars 11, I was curious if you had any kind of message that you would like to send to your season 15 sister, Mistress, who also lost the last season of All Stars.
Pass.
So that was all the information we had up until now, and neither side had addressed it any further. But as I said earlier, Mistress recently posted a YouTube video where she fully addressed and gave her side of what happened with Sasha, so let's go through the main points. Mistress started by saying that she had been asked about her feud with Sasha so many times that she could not avoid it any longer. She had mentioned a few bits on her Patreon and in interviews, but maybe now was the time to finally address it properly. But Mistress also said, quote, before y'all get started in the comments, I know people are going to clip this and it's going to be like, oh, Mistress speaks on Sasha. I'm only answering this because people continuously ask me. Mistress started out by saying, quote, there literally is no tea with me and Sasha, and that people need to realise there are going to be people in your life who just don't like you. She added, quote, I have no issue with Sasha Colby. I don't feel like I've done anything to Sasha Colby, and it just really is what it is. Mistress also admitted that, quote, there are so many reasons why someone could not like me. I am effing crazy manic at times. I have no problem owning my part of anything. But Mistress said when it comes to Sasha specifically, quote, I can honestly say 100%, I have never done anything to Sasha. I've never talked bad about Sasha. I've never stopped Sasha's bag. I've never spoken bad about Sasha in a room she's not in. Mistress then explained what she believes actually caused their feud in the first place. She said that not long after the season 15 finale, someone tweeted a clip of the Anitra and Sasha lip sync to Knock on Wood from the finale, saying it was one of the best lip syncs in the entire franchise. Mistress quote tweeted this and said that it wasn't the best lip sync in the franchise and that it was not either of their best performances either, because she thought that the better lip sync was Anitra versus Sasha lip syncing to the song I'm in Love with a Monster. Mistress said that this tweet was, quote, kind of the catalyst of when she began to not like me. But Mistress was also very clear that she thinks Sasha is one of the best performers ever, and, quote, I don't just read B words even if I don't like them, or if I feel some type of way about them. I've only ever given this B word her props. She also added, quote, even if I'm throwing shade or cutting up, whatever it was, what does it effing matter to you? You literally won the show. Mistress then said that after this, other Drag Race queens and notable people who were friends with both of them would come up to Mistress and asked her what she had done to Sasha. She said they'd tell her that Sasha, quote, can't stand you, and that Sasha gets really, really upset when Mistress is brought up. Mistress's response was always that she did not know why Sasha doesn't like her, saying, quote, I guess because I have my own opinions and I don't go, mother, like I don't care. I'm not going to blow smoke up someone's ass. To me, you and I are the same person. But then Mistress claimed that Sasha has tried to interfere with her work and stop her from getting bookings. things.
She would try to get in the way of my bookings and my money. There was a tour that we both were supposed to be on, and I remember she kind of got in the way. Not kind of, she did get in the way and got me taken off the tour. And I think this person has continuously tried to stop my bag, and I've never tried to stop her bag.
Mistress then addressed the All-Stars 10 situation with Kerri, which is what people thought started the feud. Mistress said, quote, "Where things hit a boiling point was when we did All-Stars 10, and she," meaning Sasha, "felt like I stole Kerri's point, which, by the way, made no effing sense because I didn't steal Kerri's point. Georges stole Kerri's point." Mistress added that she thinks Sasha used that as an excuse and that Sasha used a scapegoat to act on her feelings towards Mistress. That way she could be like, quote, "Oh, I'm saying I don't like you because you did Kerri wrong, when in reality, you just can't take me." Mistress also pointed out the timeline, saying all of this had boiled over at least half a year to a year before All Stars even aired, and that none of it came out publicly until Kerri was eliminated, which was about a year later. Mistress then revealed that Sasha removed Mistress from the season 15 group chat on Christmas Day.
Like, you removed me from the season 15 group chat on Christmas Day. I want y'all to really take a moment to think about this. A grown-ass woman who is the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race was so bothered on Christmas Day, where you should be celebrating your life, that you woke up and entered a group chat that we hadn't talked to each other in months, and went out of your way to type that I'm a stupid fat. Which, keep in mind, all the girls called me directly after and was like, "What the f is wrong with this bitch?" And I was like, you know what? Let her be.
Mistress added that, quote, "You went and tried to ruin someone's mood on Christmas, and when you know I'm not even close to my family, and what if I was not in the right state of mind, and you doing that would have pushed me over the edge." Mistress then finished this part of the video by saying, quote, "I think for that, I think you're a really weird ass B word, and I will never F with you in any capacity. But I want you to know I do forgive you." She also said that when she looks at Sasha, she sees a, quote, "very damaged person," and hopes that Sasha will find some peace in her life and, quote, "I hope that you can stop allowing me to occupy space in your head because I've moved on from it." Mistress also said she would never air Sasha's business and that there had been, quote, "many things that this person has done to me that she'd let slide because she still has respect for her." But Mistress did end on a bit of a warning, saying that she's noticed that Sasha has, quote, "gotten a little comfortable making digs at her." And Mistress finished by saying, quote, "You can only poke the bear so many times, so be careful how you reply." I will say that this is of course only one side of the story and only Mistress has given her account. So far, it does not look like Sasha has responded to any of this, so we'll have to wait and see if any further developments come out about this in the future. But as I always say, please do not send hate to Mistress, Sasha, or anyone else. Just consume this type of content passively and do not get involved. So there you go, there was the final Have Your Say video for All Stars 11. Let me know in the comments what you thought of All Stars 11 overall. Was it a yay? Was it a nay? Was it a slay? Was it a little bit rigged? Was it not? And how does it compare to previous All Stars? Do you think that All Stars is going up, or do you think that it's going down? A bit like me in the bedroom. If you'd like to have your comment featured in my Have Your Say poll, get early access, as well as many other benefits such as exclusive content, priority when submitting interview questions, etc, etc, please check out my Patreon or my YouTube membership. Both options are amazing and it's such a great way to support the channel and it really does make a huge difference. So please check that out and I'll put links to both in the description. I'd also say thank you so much to my amazing Patreon members for supporting me all season and before and hopefully in the future. You are all absolutely incredible. I thank my lucky stars every single day that I have you. You are absolutely incredible. Thank you all so much. Please make sure you like and comment on this video because it really does boost it in the algorithm and actually promote it to more people. And the most important thing you can do is smash that subscribe button. I'd love to get to 150k as soon as possible and I can only do that with your help. So please smash that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching all season long, both this season and any future seasons, and I hope you'll join me in a future season for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and of course drama. Thank you so much for watching and good night.